Your leads aren't the problem. Your offer isn't the problem. However, your sales team might be the problem, and you probably hired them. In this video, I'll show you the 5 real reasons most reps underperform and exactly how to fix it so you can stop losing money every single month. Now, without wasting any time, the first reason that a lot of founders fail at this is because they hire based on vibe and not evidence, right? Let's be real. You probably like the rep you spoke with on the Zoom interview, so you hired them immediately. But my question to you is, were they ever actually qualified, right? Founders often don't even ask for metrics such as close rate, average deal size, sales cycle, ACV, CAC, and so on and so forth, right? Which is so overlooked, because at the end of the day, if you are hiring somebody to represent your brand on the front lines and talk to your future customers, you would think that founders would go through immense vetting process like we do here at Sales Match to find the very best talent possible that matches their offer type, their price point, and so on and so forth. Now, the second thing that they don't look for or ask for is that they don't basically do mock objection calls, right? Or alternatively, and this is the biggest thing, is I don't see founders call ex-employers. This is the most important process in the vetting process, or the most important aspect in the vetting process is calling ex-employers. And why do I say this? Well, allow me a couple seconds here to elaborate on this. If you are interviewing somebody, right? Think of if you are going out and interviewing for a position somewhere. You are going to put your very best foot forward, right? You're going to look the sharpest. You're going to have your coffee ready. You're going to be energetic. You're going to put your very best foot forward. You're not going to give them any reason not to hire you, right? However, when on the flip side of the spectrum, if you are interviewing a setter or a closer, guess what? They are going to sell themselves over anything else. They're not going to tell you about why they maybe left the past job, which is very important that you ask them these questions during the interview, such as, when I call your ex-employer, what is he going to say about you? And then also ask them, why did you leave your last position, or why are you searching for a new job, right? Ask them these questions, because at the end of the day, if you're talking to them, they're going to put their best foot forward. But the real way to figure out who they are and what they have done in the past is calling their ex-employers. So important. Please do not skip over the step, okay? Now, the fourth reason that founders kind of slack on is that they don't match reps to their offer or price point, right? It is so important that you find a rep that is, if you're selling a product or service for $30,000, for example, you're not gonna hire a rep that has sold only offers at a $500 price point, right? You have to find reps that have sold at similar price points, right? Or that has been in high ticket sales, right? If you're selling a product or service for $50,000, that's okay if somebody has sold a product or service for $5,000 and above, but it's not okay if they've sold a product that was worth $250 or $500 for an example, right? High ticket sales, in my opinion, is everything over $2,500 as a sticker price, right? So it's so important that when you talk to reps, right, you make sure and you ask them, what have they sold in the past? What was the offer like? Where did the leads come from? To basically match up, right? Because you don't want somebody coming in that is brand new to everything, right? For an example, taking somebody from corporate sales and moving them into this online high ticket sales world. There's a lot of things that are not going to be able to translate over, right? Things such as tech stack familiarity, right? And so on and so forth. Now, the fifth and final thing that most founders basically mess up on is that they rely on referrals and LinkedIn instead of real vetting, right? Real vetting, there's an entire process. I've made plenty of videos about this, so if you want to look for them, there's somewhere on my channel here. However, real vetting is what's going to stop you from losing money in the long term. And so many founders overlook this because they don't want to go through 50+ interviews to find the right closer. They conduct 10 interviews, pick the best one, and hope and pray, right? But what they're forgetting is that your time that goes into the vetting process is so valuable, right? And the vetting process of finding the best talent is so critically important. Why? Because if you have the wrong rep, the opportunity cost that they are just going to go out there and burn your leads, right, is extremely high, right? So you want to make sure that you're hiring the very best person that matches your offer type, price point, and so on and so forth. And you're not just relying on referrals saying, oh, that person used to close well in this position, so they should close very well for you. And please remember, and I am 100% guilty of this, a good person is not always a great closer, okay? Please remember that. Because again, the second part to this is, and we can just kind of jot this down, is that reps need frameworks, okay? And not scripts, okay? A script is a great starting point, right? But again, it should not, or reps should not be relying on scripts, right? After the first couple of weeks, right? Because at the end of the day, a script is there to give you the messaging that needs to go across, right? And it's fine if a closer uses a script in the first couple of weeks to basically figure out the messaging. But after that, they need to work or move into frameworks, right? Because scripting is not good for a professional salesman, right? It is not good, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is if a lead basically throws a question at them and they throw them off the script, and they're going to struggle to get back on the script. However, if you're using a framework, you can have whatever conversation you want as long as you are getting the messaging across and controlling the frame of the conversation. So important, right? Because again, going back to the story where, you know, a rep might be thrown off script, a rep should be able to adapt on the spot and not panic, right? Bad reps will panic on the spot and will try to revert back to the script, and that will come off as inauthentic, right? And you know just as well as me that authenticity wins in this day and age, okay? Now, great reps will specifically understand buyer psychology, right? They will listen to the prospect that they're talking with. They will understand their problems, right? And they will understand how to convey the value of the product or service that they're selling towards the prospect, right? Now, great reps will also use frameworks. Like specifically, we have the Sales Match Winner framework, and I've released a video about this as well, where a lot of our reps use the winner framework, right? They know what to say, when to say it. And specifically, a framework is great because, especially with the winner geez, I can't say the word acronym. Geez, I can't say it, sorry. But you get the point here that great closers need to use frameworks instead of scripts, right? And you know, the closers that we provide or basically place, they also get access to our Sales Match Method Winner framework, right? Now, another aspect of great reps is that they know how to steer the conversation without sounding robotic, right? And this is especially true when, you know, closers use scripts. It comes off super robotic, okay? And we have to make sure that the reps do not come off as robotic, because again, that does not sound authentic, right? You have to have a real conversation, right? If you cannot, as a closer, have a real conversation one-on-one with people, and you just want to keep going back to the script, guess what? You're going to come off as inauthentic, and it's going to affect your close rate, your cash collected, and your sales cycle. And please remember, if your rep folds the moment someone says, I need to talk to my wife, that is specifically is a skill issue, okay? Now, the third part to this is that you are expecting too much too fast. So again, you're expecting too much too fast. And what I mean by that specifically is that, you know, you might have given them 20 leads, and if they didn't close one, right? Are you thinking specifically that the leads are bad or the closer is bad, right? You have to give them enough leads and enough calls to evaluate how good they really are, especially when you're onboarding a new rep, because at the beginning, look, you can have the very best closers come in. However, the first couple of weeks might take a little bit of longer time for them to ramp up to KPI. Why? Because they are still getting familiar with your tech stack. They're still getting familiar with your offer. They are still learning the best way that they specifically want to pitch your product or service. Please remember, scripts are for amateurs, frameworks are for professionals, okay? So when you get a real professional coming to your organization, they're gonna look at your past calls, right? They're gonna evaluate everything. And then they're gonna try and make it their own, which is so important. Real good reps are gonna try and make the framework their own, and that's gonna take a little bit of a while, right? So don't expect too much too quickly with reps. Generally, what you want to do is you want to put them through training, right? And then you want to give them about 60 to 90 days to really perform and ramp up into KPI, okay? Now, if this is, if you get bad rep and they're not ramped up within KPI, here's what probably happened. Number one, you onboarded them probably too fast, right? You expected them to go through, 50 core reviews in a couple of days, ramp up to the tech stack familiarity, get familiar with the team, get situated. It's too fast, right? You have to take your time in onboarding. Now, the next aspect is you probably didn't have any role play calls with them, okay? After they've gone through the training, after they've gone through the onboarding, you have to role play with this specific rep that you just hired to make sure that they can understand your offer, they understand your objection, the most common objections that come your way. Quick little tip again. If you are role playing, right, take all your sales transcript, plug them into, an AI software such as Claude or GPT, right, and then extract your best or ask GPT for the most common objections that you've got in your way and throw this at your new closer when you are role playing, okay? That's a great hint there. Now, the third aspect to this is that you probably didn't review their first 10 calls. Please remember, their first 10 to 20 calls, you have to review every single call with them as well. Review it on the side, right? And then review it with them as well. When you review it on the side, write down the notes, and then when you review it with them again, you can pause the video and tell them exactly what your thinking is so that you can help them become better with selling your specific offer or product, okay? Now, the fourth part is that you probably didn't build a decision-making structure, okay? Now, it's very, very important that you have structure to your team, structure with regards to meetings, right? Structure with regards to how the flow of things happen once, or basically what happens once a closer actually closes a deal. What happens after that? You have to give them and explain to them the structure of your entire company. Now, moving into the fourth aspect here is that you never probably should have hired them in the first place, right? So we're just gonna put a big X over there, which means you are probably hiring the wrong reps to start off with. So here's the truth. Some of the reps that you've hired probably, and I'm talking about myself here in the past as well, right? They weren't probably ready to get started with your offer, or they weren't basically the right fit for your niche or price point, right? Or alternatively, they looked good on Zoom, but they couldn't execute under pressure, right? This is so important because please remember, when you are interviewing closers or setters or anybody really for your company, they're gonna be putting their best foot forward. They're gonna make sure and ensure that they are basically have their sharpest they look sharp as a tack. Everything is going to go perfect, right? And that is why you gotta dig a little bit further into the vetting process to figure out, are they squeaky clean? Or is there something that came up, did they get fired from their last position? Which is fine, right? But why they got fired is another aspect, right? And when you call ex-employers, you are going to have to remember there's always two sides to a story, right? So get the employer's kind of story and then get the closer or setter or anybody that you're hiring on your team, get their opinion as well as to what happened, right? Because that's exactly kind of one of the reasons why we build SalesMatch, is to prevent bad hires from happening in the first place, right? Since we have an extensive vetting process that we go through to ensure that when founders rely on us to find top talent, we go find the very best talent that matches their offer, their price point, their culture, and that the rep is actually familiar with the technology that they're using, such as Slack, Zoom, and so on and so forth. Super important, okay? And the fifth and final point to this over here, I should jot this down, is that top reps perform faster, but only when they are placed properly, okay? So if your onboarding system is broken, even a great rep will look average, okay? So that is why specifically we at SalesMatch vet every rep personally, okay? We get video interviews submitted before we even talk to them in the first place, and then they have to submit more video interviews to present them to you as the founder as well, okay? We match based on offer, industry, style, and price point, right? And in addition to that, we also do cultural fits and personality checks, right? We have to ensure that the rep that we place actually gets along with the team, right? And again, we're not asking here to make friends, because you shouldn't really be making friends in your team per se. You're there for one goal and one goal only, right? To make money and to help people. That's two goals, but you get it. But essentially, the fourth and final point to this, and specifically what we do here, is that we actually guarantee replacements if things don't work out, right? So if we place a rep and we find a great closer or setter for your team and they do not work out within 60 days, we'll replace them, no questions asked, for free, not a dime on your part. So if you do not want to go through all of this stuff of hiring the best closers, finding them and making sure that they are actually good closers that's going to perform with your price point and your offer, book a call with us below. Let's chat. Let's have a look at your offer. Let's have a look at your team. Let's have a look at your culture. And let's see which rep will match perfectly with your offer type, your price point, and so on and so forth. And then we will go do the heavy lifting for you, where we will go interview them, vet them, call the X references, do all of that, and present you with a cream of the crop candidate. But other than that, I really hope this video helped you. And I hope you got some value out of this. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.